We spend so much of our lives trying to hold on, to control outcomes, to predict the future, to secure guarantees. And yet, if you're honest with yourself, how many times in your life have things turned out exactly the way you planned? Probably not many. Life resists control, and still we keep trying. But what if the answer to a calmer, lighter life isn't holding on tighter, but loosening your grip? Michel de Montaigne, the 16th century French philosopher, knew this better than most. He lived through chaos, political unrest, religious wars, outbreaks of plague. He buried several of his children. He lost his closest friend, Etienne de la Boétie, to illness at a young age. He endured long periods of illness himself. If anyone had reason to crave certainty and control, it was him. Yet, instead of becoming rigid or bitter, Montaigne leaned into a very different way of living, one built on accepting uncertainty, letting go of the illusion of control, and focusing on what's within our reach. He asked one question that became the anchor of his thinking: Que sais-je? What do I know? It wasn't just curiosity. It was a reminder to himself that so much of what we take as fixed, as certain, is just opinion, assumption, or wishful thinking. And when you stop pretending that life can be perfectly controlled, something unexpected happens. You feel lighter. You stop dragging around the weight of what if and what should have been, and you begin to work with life instead of against it. Think about how much of our mental energy is spent worrying. We play out imaginary scenarios in our heads. The job interview that could go wrong, the relationship that might fail, the illness that might come. We're living twice, once in reality and once in the anxious simulation in our mind. Montaigne warned against this. He wrote, "He who fears he shall suffer already suffers what he fears." In other words, worrying doesn't just fail to protect you from pain, it makes you experience it twice. One of Montaigne's strengths was that he didn't pretend this was easy. He admitted to being fearful, to feeling vulnerable, but he practiced what I'd call gentle skepticism toward his own thoughts. When a fear came up, he would question it. Is this happening now? Is it certain? Is it worth the cost of my peace today? Often, the answer was no. We can apply the same thinking. The next time your mind jumps into the future, pause and ask, is this happening yet? Is this even in my control? If not, why am I carrying it? But letting go doesn't mean being passive. Montaigne was not someone who sat still and let life wash over him. He took action in his own sphere. He managed his estate. He served as mayor of Bordeaux. He wrote his essays. But he drew a clear line between what he could shape and what he had to release. Here's a metaphor I like to use for his philosophy. Imagine holding a rope tied to a wild horse. The horse represents life, unpredictable, powerful, sometimes chaotic. You can hold the rope so tightly that you get dragged and hurt, or you can keep enough hold to walk alongside, guiding when you can, but knowing the horse will sometimes pull in directions you didn't choose. That's Montaigne, guiding but not gripping, until your hands bleed. One of the most remarkable things about Montaigne is how he managed to maintain a sense of joy and curiosity despite all the loss and uncertainty he faced. In his essays, he often wrote about small pleasures, walking through his vineyard, reading classical authors, talking with friends. He found richness in the everyday, not because it distracted him from the chaos, but because it grounded him in the parts of life that were real and available right now. And that's something we forget. Uncertainty doesn't just take things away. It also means there's room for surprises, for discoveries we couldn't have planned. When you loosen your grip on how life should be, you make space for how it actually is. And sometimes that's far better than the plan. So, how do we bring Montaigne's wisdom into our own lives? First, we acknowledge the limits of control. This isn't resignation, it's clarity. It's seeing the difference between steering the boat and trying to control the wind. One is possible, the other is not. Second, we practice mental minimalism. That means carrying fewer hypothetical problems in our heads. Before you give a worry your time, ask, Is this mine to solve right now? If not, set it down. Third, we choose presence over prediction. Montaigne didn't waste his days forecasting disasters. He invested in the day he was actually living. If you're eating, eat. If you're walking, walk. If you're working, work. The mind will want to sprint into the future, call it back, over and over. None of this means life becomes painless. Montaigne knew pain was inevitable, but he refused to let fear take up more space than the pain itself. He would face challenges as they came, not as they might come. And here's the central message that runs through all of this. Letting go isn't giving up. It's choosing to live where your hands, your mind, and your heart actually are. Montaigne's voice still feels fresh today because it's not the voice of a preacher telling you to be fearless or unshakable. It's the voice of someone who knew fear and uncertainty intimately and chose not to let them run his life. He understood something we often forget. Life will not wait until you feel ready. The conditions won't be perfect. The risks won't disappear. The future won't hand you a guarantee. And if you try to hold on to control until everything feels certain, you'll spend your days waiting instead of living. That's why his idea of letting go is so radical. It's not about passivity, it's about priority. When you loosen your grip on what you can't shape, you free your hands to work on what you can. You reclaim your time, your focus, and your energy from the endless cycle of what if. In his essays, Montaigne often turned the mirror on himself. He didn't claim to have all the answers. In fact, his motto, Que sais-je, was an open admission of how little we truly know. That humility is a kind of power. It leaves space for adaptation, for curiosity, for growth. When you aren't obsessed with being right, you're more open to learning. So what does it mean to live lightly? In Montaigne's sense, it means making peace with not knowing. It means finding value in the moment you have, even if tomorrow looks unclear. It means measuring your life not by how much you controlled, but by how deeply you engaged with what was real and present. We can take 3 key takeaways from this. First, you are not in charge of the wind, only of your sails. Stop exhausting yourself trying to direct forces that will move regardless of your will. Second, fear is a poor fortune teller. Most of what you dread will never happen, and the things that do will be met with the strength you build along the way, not with the dread you rehearsed. Third, joy is not a prize for control. It's something you create in the middle of uncertainty. You don't have to postpone living until life stabilizes. You can walk, read, talk, love, and build right now. Montaigne's life was filled with change and loss, but he left behind a map for those of us who want to live with less fear and more ease. And that map isn't complicated. It simply asks you to stop clinging to the rope so tightly that you're dragged along, and instead walk beside life, guiding where you can and accepting where you can't.